We have room for improvement. This is what we would have changed in Rain Man, and for being a near perfect movie, I do have a few things that I caught that I would have
You
changed.
start then, and I'll come in because I'm pretty sure you have more than I do.
Okay, the first thing is kind of it's kind of petty. It's kind of ticky tacky. The editing in the motel room in Bumble, Missouri, where Tom Cruise is standing at the door where it's raining. And it jump cuts a few times with him standing at the door. I don't know if this was to show time passing, uh, and I don't know this because it didn't really look like time had passed. So I don't know what the point of these jump cuts were. They were just kind of weird, out of place. Like, to put it bluntly, they were kind of sloppy looking, and they were specifically out of place with the pacing of the rest of the movie. Like, again, with the consistency that we talked about in Jackie Brown with the cross dissolves. You either do something throughout, or you don't do it at all. And the jump cuts in that moment, they just didn't make sense to me. I don't know. It looked like an editing mistake.
Um, one thing, one thing I have to say about this is like sometimes just because you have a segment, you can't force yourself to really say too many things for you to change about something. Like, and I'll say this, even during the rewatch, I felt the exact same way about it. Sometimes I don't like to change things for the sake of changing them. So I guess one of the things that if I look at this and really ask myself, what is something that what if I would have wanted to see, I would have said, selfishly, I would have wanted to see that time. I mean, this is the one time I don't want to be a filmmaker. I just want to be a fan of film again, and I want to see Charlie go home, Raymond come home with Charlie. I do, and to me,
Nope.
if that makes it not a classic, then so be it.
That's one of my things too. Is I disagree with the decision for him to go back,
That's
and
fair.
in most cases, I would have been all for, like, don't give me the happy ending, don't tie up everything, let it be, because more realistic is usually typically things don't go your way. So normally I would be like, yes, that's the ending. That was brave for them to do that. That was awesome, but I don't know if it's a selfish thing for me. But really, at the end of the day, I don't feel like it was the best decision. And I don't feel like they made a good argument that it's the best decision. Because if you think about it, Charlie and Raymond made a ridiculous amount of growth in just
It's
those
just small
7 days.
times, right? Yeah.
His Charlie is quickly figuring out and adapting to how to cater to Raymond's needs and routines. You see him all the time. Like, he goes out and gets some fish
TV,
sticks in the rain, the TV.
I need 8.
Yeah,
Yes,
he
yeah,
is. I mean,
yeah, yeah.
for being so selfish, he really
He
does
got on his schedule
sacrifice.
quick. Now he did do that. I will say for a kidnapping,
Uh-huh.
this is a very respectful kidnapping.
Not only that, but you see that a connection was made, like a
Yeah.
real emotional connection. Like Raymond made advancements in in whatever it is he's got. Like he got better as far as relationships go with 7 days with Charlie, more so than he had for decades at the place he was staying at.
Woodhome or whatever. Yes.
And Charlie's point in the doctor's office was perfect. He said, "Have you spent 24 hours a day with him 7 days a week?"
And he couldn't say that.
No, nobody there did. Yeah, not even Vern, I don't think did.
Right.
So I think that was. And again, like, it was actually written for Dustin Hoffman to end up with Tom Cruise and for them to go off into the sunset together. But Dustin Hoffman opted for that to change and for him to go back to Waybrook. But yeah, I don't think you could tell that it was fleshed out for it to be the other way.
That's and like I said, that's a change up in the mind. Another thing that I would have looked at differently. I wish that he wouldn't have been able to walk off the ground so easily. Like, you see the guy walk out like Coretta Deville or some villain and look at like that. It looked weird and they never followed up on that.
Yeah.
Like, it should have been
Yeah.
somebody like right behind,
So
like, where you doing? Where you going? Like,
So he's better off here,
Yeah.
where anybody can just come and walk away with him.
right. So people can just come get him.
Yeah, where you have just they've all become, it's almost, and you see this in places like that where they, like, oh, that's just who he is. That's who he's always going to be. They become complacent with who Raymond is. Where as like where Charlie, like, from the get go, he's not buying all of it. Like, he's picking up his books when he knows it makes him uncomfortable. So where everybody else at Waybrook has got to the point where they're not pushing Raymond to grow in any way. So he's going to stay stagnant. But in those 7 days with Charlie, in his like disregard for Raymond with some things, that actually helped Raymond to grow a little bit. And it was perfect.
One last thing I would have changed. I don't like how Susanna showed back up. To me, it felt like they were trying to wrap up a bow because in that time of
Of
communication.
course, he didn't like Susanna showing back up.
Well, no. I'm just saying. Okay, it could have been Bob Dylan. I don't care. Whoever you want to. Cisco Freed, if Roy Sigmund Freud. I don't care. The person she showed back up. And it was just so unrealistic because like he didn't know she was showing up. So that means somebody else, either the guy back home. And damn sure wasn't Raymond, gave her where he was at. Like she's not like in GPS is low. So she shows back up and all of a sudden it's okay. Then he drops her back off and we never really hear from her again. Like you wrapped it up and now you dropping this off.
Yeah.
And it's like what's going on, man? Like that's not cool. Like that to me, like it's such a good movie. Like if you're gonna abruptly make her leave, okay, I get it. Mm-hmm. What he did to his brother was so vile. She was so against that she never. If you're gonna not let Raymond and Charlie be together, then don't let Charlie and Susanna be together. Mm-hmm. Leave it to that. I'll bring her back for one last fling.
Yeah, I mean they are engaged. I think she just wasn't their relationship just wasn't the focus of the story.
True.
I have two more things. The Vegas scenes.
Be careful now.
I will say this. There's a lot of great. For as many great moments the Vegas scenes bring us, all the great moments that happen within the Vegas scenes, from the montage to the heartfelt moment, dancing to, really those are the two. There's some I don't know, and I felt this way. I remember when I first watched it, I felt this way. There's something about that section of the movie in Vegas that feels off about the pacing. I feel like it, and I don't press me on this because I can't provide examples for why I feel this way. It's just a feeling. When I get to that point in the movie, about 10-15 minutes into the Vegas portion of the movie, it just kind of starts to feel like it's dragging a little bit. And I don't know why. I'll just say that.
Very contradictory of yourself. On one minute you say for all the great moments it brings us.
It provided a lot of great moments. I feel like those great moments could have been condensed a little bit.
Let's get this straight. He finally figures out based off some jukebox scenario in some diner that his brother he sees the savant and he immediately rushes out to the back of the car. Does the card thing.
That's
boom.
all good.
Okay, boom. Now he immediately peels rubber. And this time, rather than, as you mentioned earlier, coming into Vegas slowly, he peels back into Vegas. Punch and shot of watch, you know the story. And so my point is now they're in Vegas. Listen, when you're in Vegas, things should feel off. It should never feel like the rest of something when you're in Vegas.
Yeah, it felt like they got lost there for a little bit.
I've been lost in
and
Vegas.
They didn't know how to progress the story on from that point.
Oh, you meant to sell the writers. I'm sorry.
Yeah. My last thing, and I think this is a pretty big one for me, the Amtrak. Raymond would not get on a plane. Raymond would not drive on the highway.
Where it was raining. And they wouldn't drive when it was raining, too.
But no questions asked, no breakdown, no nothing. He gets on that Amtrak with the doctor. I find it very hard to believe that he didn't have any bad statistics about trains in his head.
Touche, my friend. He knew every plane that went down since Vietnam. So all of a sudden.
So the only thing that I could say
Amtrak
is
84,
that
M4, Mr. Roy, Mr. T.Y.'s father worked for him.
Or else, why didn't him and Charlie take a train across the country? It would have got them a lot faster than taking back roads in a car. The only way that I could justify that taking place at the end of the movie
he had never been on one before. Or even if he had never been on one, still, he would know.
Yeah, he'd never been on a plane. I could, if I were defending that as, if I had made this film or wrote it and I was defending that, I would say it's because he had grown a little bit and was more accustomed or more accepting of inching outside of his comfort zone because of this week with Charlie. That's why he was able to get on the train.
I don't want to buy
But
that.
it's a big
choppy.
leap. It doesn't fall into the uniform of how incremental their character development is.
Well, how does it make you? Let me ask you this, since that was your last one. How does it make you feel in correlation to the ending of John Candy and Steve Martin at the train station?
Um, I don't think there's any comparison. I mean, it's two very emotional moments, but there was no holes.
So let me get it straight. There's no comparison, and you follow that right up with there's two very emotional moments.
Yes,
like,
so,
talk to
so
me.
there is a comparison,
Okay.
and I will elaborate on comparing. I would say Planes, Trains, and Automobiles was more emotionally. Say it so it's very hard.
Just the scene, not the film. Just that scene though.
They're a tie for emotional gratification.
Okay.
And that's why it's so frustrating that that little thing with Raymond getting on the train, it's distracting from that. Why did it have to be a train? Why couldn't they have just been getting in a car to leave and go back?
Do you think that maybe he was okay because someone from his life that he had known for years was already on the train? That's what I thought about that. Because the guy was on there as a conference. He saw him in the window. The same person he known, somebody he was familiar. Remember, he's like, I'm 9 years the closest friend he got. It takes years for him to really bring you in, and because maybe since this guy had never done him any harm, he's not in his red book.
Mm-hmm.
Wherever he goes is okay. Charlie's in the red book by the time he gets to the plane. He's noogied him and put stuff. You know what I'm saying? So maybe that's it. I don't know.
That could be. There are potential reasons.
Is there 6 theories?
Would have been so much.
Is there 6 theories to how it is? Because I don't think it's 6
we'll
theories.
get into 6 theories in mid-January.
Okay, all right.
But yeah, that's what I would have changed.
Good stuff, man.
What would you have changed about Rain Man? Let us know in the comments. Put something in the damn comments. For f***'s sake.
Hit the goddamn button.
Find us in all these links. It's coming up right now.
Why don't you subscribe? It'll last longer.